You a new realtor, or are you new to the office?
I'm a new realtor.
Okay, right on. When did you get licensed?
Just a few days ago.
Oh,
But I took my exam like 4 or 5 months ago. It was a long process to finally receive my license.
okay, right on. Yeah, it's too bad just because it's so backed up.
Yes.
But now that you have your license, it's gonna be awesome. And Jenny, we met last week.
Yes, we did.
Awesome, awesome. So I think everyone's Harsh, Monica, Jenny, you're all in the same boat where you've got your real estate license for the last like less than a year, really.
I still don't have my license though. I'm still doing the course.
Yeah, today will be good because we're just gonna go over, lead capturing for buyers, how to work with them, how to start working with them.
Okay.
Bina left. She's been in the business a couple of years, but I was hoping I'd get a few stories from her and everything. Alrighty then. Any questions? Myself and Alman, we've both been in the business for a little bit. Like, Alman, what's it, 14 years for you now?
15
years. Yeah, and myself, I've been in the business 2009, so 12 years. Through that, like, once I got licensed, I got off to a pretty good start, but then hit a glass ceiling on my own. And then I started working with Josh Bath as his buyer's agent for 2 years. On his team, we were doing 50, 60 deals a year. Half or more of those were buyers. And then I went back on my own around 2014 or so, 2013. And then, I do love the business. I think, as someone who's self-employed or a business owner, it's the simplest way you can work for yourself and have, unlimited opportunity as well. So we love the business. We love the energy that you new people bring. We like teaching it. We like talking about it. So yeah, it's awesome. You guys are, if you ever had a doubt whether you can make it or whether this is right for you, like, I really do think you're in the right place. You just have to have good work ethic. You do have to work hard for the first 2 years, make mistakes, but we're here to help you along the way. Everyone's licensed with Keller Williams, I take it. Harsh, you said you're in the Surrey office. Yeah, okay. Right on. Usually we do these in person, which is so much better for like conversation, but we deal with what we can. I do want to say September, was it? Shit, I'll grab my calendar. We are doing like an in-class prospecting week on September 13 to 17 at the POCO office. So I encourage everyone to be there. September 13 to 17 starts at 8:30 every day, goes till 5. And we're using that week to really build your habits. It's going to be, a lot of calling, a lot of scripting and role playing, getting used to the conversations that you'd have with new clients. And then really setting yourself up for a successful fall and winter to really cap off 2021 really well. Hey, Parm. You're on mute there.
Oh, hey, everyone.
Could you quickly tell us a little bit about yourself, your background in real estate?
Yeah, so I don't have my license yet. I'm going into my APC on August 30th. Should have my license like mid-September.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on. I'm glad to have this class for everyone then. Everyone's around the same. They've had their license for less than half a year.
Oh, okay. Everyone's
So,
you.
Yeah, if you have questions, like fire away about anything.
Okay.
That's what myself and Alman are here for.
Guys, just before we kind of dive in, I don't know if you saw the note in the chat there. Just share your email address. That way, it's just easier for the coaches because you automatically get allowed into the session. So send me your email address whenever you get a chance, and then we'll add you to the invite list.
For sure. You'll have access to all of our websites too, and I'll go over that as well today. I'm excited. I see a lot of new faces, and I'm pumped up for the fall because we always get like certain times when a lot of people join real estate, especially in January and the springtime and fall time. So you guys are like the fall people. And Parmveer, you're licensed with Keller Williams as well?
Yeah.
Right on. So how it works is like all this coaching is essentially free for you. We get paid through the CAP system. For the first, hey Maz.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Hiroshi.
Morning. So for the first about $50,000 in gross commission you make, 30% of that goes to the office.
Yep.
And Almond, Chris, Carol, and myself, they pay us out of that. So you still pay 30% whether you're in coaching or not.
Okay.
But, you know, if it's free, take it. We are that.
Sorry, Hiroshi, I was gonna jump in real quick. For the four of you guys, have you all taken Carol's classes on Tuesdays?
No, I'm starting that tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So that's definitely a must. You know, just especially given where you guys are at, getting your license and everything. So you know, you might take the same class multiple times, but usually sort of sessions run a month and then it restarts again. So, you know, if you take it twice, so 2 months, that's probably good in terms of getting you comfortable with contracts and all that kind of stuff. So definitely a must every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And take it more than once too, because you'll start creating your contracts on web forms and then you'll have more questions, go back. You have to know your contracts to a point where you can explain it to your clients without looking at them. So you know what all the conditions are, you know what they mean. You don't want to be caught in a position where, you know, someone asks, "Oh, what does this mean?" and you're fumbling. Like you're going to look really green and perhaps lose a client at the same time. Hi, Allison. So, you know, be really familiar with it. Take Carol's class 3+ times, I would say. And they're only 2 hours and you'll get all the clauses and you come back with more questions and everything. So that's tomorrow at 10 a.m. Alrighty. So yeah, today, like, Maz, you have a question?
Yes, please. Hi, Hiroshi, one quick question. With regard to the commission cap, I know that it's basically an amount, 1,400 and then plus 3,000. And then I'd like to know just approximate how much sales volume we need to make to achieve that cap.
Yeah, for
Approximate,
sure.
is it 3 million, 5 million, 7 million? How much is that?
Yeah, like these numbers that Maz was talking about, is you have to pay the office $14,100 every year. Okay, so if you sell a property and you get a paycheck for $10,000, the first 30%, so $3,000, is going to go to the office. You keep paying that until you hit 14,100, and once you do, that's called capping. And when you get into the business, like that's your first goal, is just to cap as quick as possible within your first year. In order to hit that 14.1, you have to have a gross commission of about $48,000, just under 50,000. Your gross volume in that case, we make about on average 1.4%, 1.5% per transaction. It'll depend on how much each property is. So like the volume will vary, but you can call it about 4 million. 4 million in gross sales volume, which is like,
All right. Yeah, and also that depends on whether you're going to be on the seller listing or
exactly,
buyer side, and how much it would be a buy if you're a buyer side, how much they're going to get. They're going to
exactly.
get actually. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the listing side, you'll probably get about 1.6%. On the buy side, you'll get between like 1.2 to 1.4%. But a $4 million house now, that's what is that? Just a detached house in South Vancouver. If you do that, or White Rock, it's a big house in White Rock. You can cap in one deal. So yeah, like today, I really want to get down to working with buyers, where to find buyers, because a lot of people, like, if you start promoting yourself on Instagram and Facebook, and people get to know that you're in the business, your business is going to start within your sphere of influence, which is your family, your friends, your previous coworkers, anyone you go to the grocery store with. If you see them, you know them by first name, and you'd approach them and say hi to, like, that's your sphere of influence. That's your network. And when, like when I got licensed, I'd always get business from a bar. So I'd see someone that I went to high school with, and I start talking to them, and I'd say, oh yeah, I just got my real estate license. And one of my first pieces of business, my good friend Matt was like, oh, that's funny you say that, because I was thinking about buying a place. And then, I was 23 at the time or whatever. So I'm like, oh no, I don't know what to do. So just so you don't run into that problem, we'll have all the presentations. You can practice them, like, pull aside like your best friend or something, and just see if you can practice your listing presentation, your buyer side presentations with them. So at the end of the day, you're not practicing on your real clients. If you meet someone at an open house and you're jiving, you have a good rapport with them, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'd consider using you. You're not practicing on those people, right? You're practicing on spouses, friends, family, things like that. Any questions before we get started here? Wait, let me pull up the presentation. How do I do this? Present. Window. Boom. Boom. Alrighty, everyone can see this? I can't see you guys anymore.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, thanks. So there's our email address if you need anything, kwelitepc@gmail.com. For the first 2 deals, Carol will be your coach. We call that R1. So if Maz, like, I know you've done a handful of deals now, so your coach is myself and Amin, and keep calling us. But for your first 2 deals, we want everyone to go to Carol, because you're going to have a lot of questions, and we've kind of set up coaching that way. Well, we normally do a week review, which would mean, inputting your numbers. How many appointments did you go on? How many listings did you take? And how many closings have you had? Those are the metrics that eventually get you paid. If you're not going on appointments, then really, like, where's your next piece of business coming from? Right? Like, you can spend so much time having the perfect business card, the website, Facebook page, just dabbling on MLS and things like that. But if you're not going out meeting people, having appointments, meeting buyers and sellers, then you don't know when your next paycheck's coming from. And so we really want you to focus on prospecting, lead generating, going on appointments, signing contracts, things like that. And of course, closing. We don't get paid until we have a closing. So in coaching, this is what we really focus on. Now, what challenges are you facing? So let's go over that right now. Just a round table. If anyone wants to go first. like as a new agent being licensed for less than 6 months, what's the number one challenge that you find yourself facing?
I can tell you a challenge I'm facing when I'm in front of someone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yesterday I went to a listing presentation. I've actually already sold to her. She bought with me, but
Nice.
her and her husband are splitting up, and they're wanting to price out their property. It's very rural. It's in Ryder Lake, and she wants $2 million for it. And I did so many. It's tricky, of course, because Ryder Lake's super rural. Not a lot of stuff sells. And my starting point from BC assessment and from her previous listing was like 1.1.25, like basically really low, less than 1.2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was, going to see what her finishes were, how usable the land was, because it looked like hell when she bought it, and to see if she had any extra rental property on there. By the time I saw everything, I went from 1.125 to maybe 1.35.
Okay. Oh, so it's nice.
And I'm like, and then I asked her, what do you think it's worth? And she's like, well, I won't accept anything less than 2 million. And I'm like, oh, wow, like we're way off. And I'm just going to send her all the stats. Cause we're like, I'm comparing like 20 acre, 8 acre, 10 acre properties to this 5 acre property, because there's not a lot of 5 acre properties. It's tricky to compare. And then she had like super weird zoning. Like some of her neighbors were like geologically sensitive zoning, and I can't really compare those because what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like it's super weird with rural. But anyway, she's totally out to lunch, but I don't know how to get through to her. Fortunately, I have a relationship with her until her property closes in January. So I encouraged her to invite somebody else in, and either she lists with them, and there's no way she'll get $2 million for it because there's absolutely exquisite properties listed that are like 20 acres, renovated nicer than hers, and they're like 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, and they're not moving. They've been on there for 6 months. So
Okay.
I'm hoping that I get another chance when she realizes that I was honest and didn't try to bullshit her, but
Mm-hmm.
that's my obstacle.
Yeah, for sure. Like when someone's so attached to a list price and you can't shake them, you do lose. There's a chance that you'll lose the listing to somebody else. Like they'll just buy the listing. It's called when you take an overpriced listing, just for having your sign out and just to have a listing that you can service and perhaps get more business out of it. And then there's a chance that they could buy the listing. Your friend's motivation goes up, and then she ends up reducing the price with the same agent, and that sucks too. The way, like, you can price a property anything you want. Like, why start so low at 2 million? Why not go 5 million if we're so out of line with our price, right? The result's going to be the same. At the end of the day, like, my objection handler, I'd say, is there are two big problems with pricing our property at $2 million. And the pricing conversation is sensitive, so you have to be pretty patient and you have to be a little bit delicate with it, because essentially you're saying your place is worth $700,000 less than what you think it is. And people have a lot of emotion and pride into their homes. And so I would say there, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there are two problems that I see with pricing your property at $2 million. One of them is that if we priced our listing at $2 million, we're now competing with other homes that are selling at $2 million, and we're making them look better, unfortunately. Does that make sense? We're helping other homes sell. And the other problem is that the buyers who can afford our homes at 1.2, 1.3 millions, they don't even see it on their search because everyone goes on the MLS to start in the beginning. They know what they can afford. They might even go up to 1.5 million with the hopes that they'll be able to negotiate less for the property. Except if we price our property at 2 million, the people who can afford our homes aren't even seeing it. And so that's the objection handler I use for overpriced properties at the listing appointment. The conversation's a little bit longer than that, realistically. Like I said, you have to be delicate. It's an emotional time, and all they're thinking of in their mind is, I'm getting $500,000 less. I'm getting $700,000 less. Yeah. Does that help, Allison?
Yeah, no, for sure it does. It's just it's super tricky because it doesn't make sense for me to take the listing to because as you said, you're not going to catch the right audience, and ultimately she could list the property for $1 and the market's going to tell her what it's worth.
Exactly.
And what's happened unfortunately in Ryder Lake is that every property that sold where I could get the accurate stats off BC assessment, they were selling for up to 14% below their BC assessed value. Like they're selling lower than how BC assessment has assessed them, because it's rural. Like it's not everyone wants to deal with how much work 20 acres is or 5 acres is, and then septic, and it's a lot, man.
Yeah.
You need the right person for that. Anyhow,
For sure.
yeah.
So you do have to make a business decision. There are pros to taking a listing, even though it's overpriced too. And I say, as long as the client's aware and you've had this conversation, anyone could take a listing. You can market it. You can, show on Instagram and Facebook what you do to market homes, and so it might turn into other business opportunities. But I say, have that open conversation with your seller. If you're going to, just say, $2 million is so out of line. I'm willing to take the listing and market it and things like that. Because, there's opportunity for me. If I do take the listing, I could list a neighboring property as well and just have that open conversation. Yeah. So, like, if you're a new agent under 2 years, I say, like, take every listing that comes up. Honestly.
It's in Chilliwack though, and I live in Port Coquitlam, so it's a long way to drive if I know I'm going to strike out. I feel like it's just so far for so much rejection.
Yeah. And so this might be a pass. Alrighty, well, thanks for that. Yeah, that's definitely like a real problem that we come up with often, especially like we don't usually see that in a strong seller's market like we're in now. In a buyer's market, you will get a lot of that. Oh, our neighbor sold for 1.4. Our house is better. We want 1.6. And so it's, these scripts are really important to practice. Awesome. Thanks for that. Anyone else? Let's do one more. What's a challenge that you're facing these days? Am I the only person on the call?
No, we are here.
Okay. No, I got some people.
Now 5 people jumping. Okay, we have this problem. Okay. All right. Shall I go next?
Yeah.
Hiroshi, we have this telelisting, and I have a question with regard to how we can reach out to the phone number of the homeowner. Not apparently only the landline is registered in telelisting, if I'm not wrong, because when I put down the mobile number, it's saying unlisted. I put down just mine. So okay, whether I can see my information here. Not so many people these days, they have a landline. and just randomly calling on the neighborhood for the expired or just listed or just sold or whatever. And the other question I have for you, supposing if you want to go, what would be your typical practice if you go door knocking and the guy, I mean the homeowner, not the guy, the homeowner is not at home? Would you leave a message, or again you go back again, you go there until you meet somebody? What would you do?
Right.
But if you leave somebody, just walk into the door, a door hanger nicely just goes to the recycle bin most of the time. And if you, I don't know, I was thinking about writing a note or something make it as a personal, very much personal approach. What would you advise on these two?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, like telelisting it's great for random cold calls, but realistically, there's only about 1 in 10 numbers that are listed, and a lot of them are like seniors and elderly who aren't really moving or selling homes and things like that, and that's because everyone's using cell phones, and um, it's hard to, especially if you're targeting a lead, it's hard to get their home phone number and then catch them because a lot of people screen their calls as well now. If you're going for like an expired or for sale by owner, you're better off actually getting to the house and having that belly to belly conversation. Um, Telelisting is good if let's say I sell a property and then I make like an elastic band around that property within 5 kilometers, and then I call everyone with a script that says, "Hey, I just sold a property in your neighborhood." And usually, when one home sells, a couple more will sell right away. And so I was wondering, who do you know in your neighborhood that's looking to sell? Right? Like that's a great starting point for any conversation. That's what telelisting's good for. If you're going for an expired lead, meaning that they listed their property, it didn't sell, they took it off the market, they could have either terminated it or it expired after 90 days or 180 days. If you're going for that kind of lead gen, then you have to go to the house. And the crazy thing is that most realtors aren't willing to go to the house. So if you go, you'll be one of just a few people. There'd be little competition, and you just talk to them. I'll knock. Hey, my name's Hiroshi. I'm a realtor in the area. Pause. Um, I noticed that your house is on the market, and for whatever reason, you decide to take it off. I was wondering if you're looking to sell it in the future, or if you're just going to stay here. And then just wait for their response and see what happens, and then go into any kind of conversation. I don't really usually get doors slammed in my face, especially since COVID, because I guess more people are welcoming to talk to people too.
All right. And then you wouldn't leave any message
So
or card or notes or something? Or?
yeah, there's two types of door knocking. There's one type of door knocking where I'll just go and I just want to talk to people, get their name and email address and put them in my database. Usually I'll go to like a townhouse complex. Those conversations are a lot different. It's, "Hi, my name's Hiroshi. I'm a realtor. I just want to come by and introduce myself. I do work a lot in the area. Who do you know that's looking to sell or buy in the area? I'd love to help them." Yada, yada, yada. And then I'd say, "Hey, by the way, if your neighbor sells, would you be curious to find out what they sell for?" And then that's how I get their email address. Now, if I'm going to that kind of door knock and they don't pick up, I just want to talk to as many people as possible that day. I don't leave anything. Some people leave door hangers, some people leave whatever, but like the odds that they're in the middle of selling is quite small. I'd rather try to talk to as many people as possible and then have that perfect piece of collateral to drop off um, and work on that. I would rather go to a house with just a pen and a notepad, no business card, and get their information before they get mine. If
I
they ask
see.
for a business card, just say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I ran out today, but I'd love to get your information. If anything pops up, I'll let you know."
All right. All right.
Right? Because like, business cards are the fastest way to get into someone's laundry. Um, yeah, they just don't they don't work. However, if I go to an expired listing, so this is completely different. Now I'm targeting a lead. Now I'm prospecting, so I'm driving to one expired listing to another to another. Then I'll bring a business card with a blank white on the back, and it would say "Call me," like CALL space ME with an exclamation mark, and then I'd stick that in their door. Um, and and then maybe 1 in 20, 1 in 50 people call. But on my card it says I'm a realtor. They know exactly why I'm there. They've had other realtors knock on their door probably. And so when I get the calls, it sounds like, "Hey, you came back and dropped off a card that said call me," and I'm calling. Like, they kind of play stupid. And then I'll go through the exact same script. "Oh yeah, my name's Hiroshi. I'm a realtor in the area. I want to introduce myself. I noticed that your house was on the market a few months ago, and for whatever reason you took it off. I was wondering if you're wanting to sell again."
All right. That's fantastic. And then as soon as it's expired or basically terminated, next day, they are allowed to hire a new realtor, right? They don't have any obligation to I forgot it actually, as per
Yeah, as long as it's terminated or expired.
the next day is anybody else they can sign with anybody else, right?
Correct. If
Oh,
it's cancel protected, they
yeah,
cannot.
yeah, that's good. Thanks.
And make sure you check all these listings, because if it's privacy protected, where the
Yes.
seller's names are, you cannot knock it. The other thing we say is we do protect our office too. So I would never knock on a door that was listed by another Keller Williams agent, right? Like a lot of people, like our friends, like I know Amin and his family, and like I don't want to poach for his past clients. There's a ton of business to go around. You're always going to have expired and terminated out there, so just keep it outside the office. If it's like your neighbor, I would call the agent first and just say, "Hey, I noticed you had an expired listing. It turns out to be my neighbor, and just want to see if like you still had that relationship, and you were going to relist it or whatever." Does that make sense?
Perfect.
What I
Thanks.
said? Okay,
Yes, absolutely.
right on. Let me know if you want me to repeat any of the scripts or anything like that. If you're taking notes, I can do that. All right. So as far as expectations in the future, as a new realtor, your work is to get more work, or your first piece of business. So we have to be scripting and role playing. So practicing all the scripts that we're going to share with you. We have to be lead generating consistently, minimum 2 hours a day as a full-time agent. If you want to be on the track of capping in the first year, perhaps making six figures in your first year, you have to be lead generating a lot. It's also called prospecting. Number 3, we have to do lead follow-up. There's a saying that says the fortune's in the follow-up. So just because you have a lead, you put it in your computer, you send random emails to them, doesn't mean that they're going to use you. They don't owe you anything. It's your job to keep following up with them. If they're looking to move, if they're looking to purchase an investment, then you have to bring them enough value in order for them to trust you, in order for them to hire you in the future. Okay, that's called lead follow-up. And then there's going on appointments. So going on listing appointments, buyer appointments, we'll talk about buyer appointments today. We'll probably talk about listing appointments next week. And the last one is closing contracts, signing contracts. So buyer, seller, those are the expectations. If you're doing those 5 things every day, you're starting your day scripting, role-playing, practicing, and then you're lead genning, and then you're going home, you're inputting all the data, you're spending a lot of time in your database, then I have no doubt that all of you will succeed in this business. That's straight out of the Red Book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. If you don't have a copy of the Red Book, please order one. I think they're like $20 on Amazon. Ron at the office could sell one to you for less. Yeah, that's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. All right, so let's see here. This is our wiki site. Okay. If you're in coaching, you have access to this. If you've never seen this site before, put your email address into the chat box, and then we'll give you access in the next day or two. This is a site that Chris built out a few years ago. If you look on this left-hand column, you can see that there's new home warranty, taxes within real estate, tenancy, just about everything you need to know. There's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book in PDF form. Just about everything you need to know is on here. It's quite robust, and all the information is local, so it relates to selling real estate in BC and in the Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley. There's contract clauses that we use. Now, what I want to focus on today, probably number 1 is buyer lead sheet. So let's say like an old friend calls you up and says, that's the wrong one, and says, oh, hey, I saw that you're a real estate agent, and this might come in the form of a text or usually Facebook Messenger. If you've been promoting yourself on there, they'll say, hey, I just noticed that you're a realtor. We're actually looking for a home. Here's an MLS number of the place we want to see. Which is awesome, except you don't know if they're pre-qualified. You don't know when they're buying. You don't know what they're looking for. You really can't lead anyone to water unless you go through pre-qualifying your buyer. And so when I get a text like that, usually the first thing I do is I'd look at the listing. I'd see if it's still available. Usually it's not, because it's a crazy market right now. And then I'd get some details, and then I would ask them if they have time for a coffee. When do you go for coffees, or do you have your first meetings at the office or your house?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I mean, obviously things have changed here a little bit with the COVID, but yeah, I mean, right now it's mostly sort of through Zoom calls or Google Meet or whatever.
Nice. Yeah. And on Zoom calls, you can have your presentation on there too, I guess. So that's kind of cool. So like, yeah, let's say pre-COVID times, I would always try to meet for a coffee. Whatever's convenient for them. Like, I'm completely mobile. And then I would bring this buyer lead sheet. And so buyer lead sheet, it's 2 pages. It has a lot of questions that you have to ask. Like, let's say, for example, you don't do this and you start looking for a home. And after you go on 2 tours, you've seen 10 houses now, or 10 apartments now. And you just found out that they have a 160-pound Rottweiler. and they also have 3 cars. And they have 2 kids, and you've been showing them age-restricted properties with pet restrictions and only 1 parking space, and there's no street parking. And so, like, this is really important to do. Some buyers will fight it. They'll say, I just want to go look at homes, which to me just sounds like I kind of want to waste your time, and we're dabbling. So there's a lot of value in yourself in doing a proper lead sheet. And so if you go down here, go through all of these questions, not just like the ones that are easy. There are some hard questions and tough conversations around here, but they're in here for a reason. Conversations around financing and things like that some people might consider a little bit private, but we're looking after our client's best interest. So date, lead, source that prompted call. Like I'm always tracking where my business comes from, because in order to get more business, I want to focus on that. If all of a sudden I'm getting, everything from all my business from open houses, I want to do more open houses. I want to focus what I'm good at and where the leads are coming from. If all my business is coming from Craigslist, I want to do more Craigslist ads. I want to focus all my time into putting more Craigslist ads, just because I'm good at it. So where they came from, sign calls, Craigslist, whatever. Contact info. So their name, kids' names, pets' names, email, phone, home phone, cell phone, work phone. Pretty simple, straightforward. Where they live. What's the best way to get in touch with you? Like, how do you like to be communicated? When you're doing a buyer consultation like this, it has everything to do with them. Like, you're not going to go there and start talking about yourself, how you made medallion, how you're like, what do they call it? Like the golden triangle within Keller Williams. They don't care. They really don't care about you. I'm sorry to say it. Your background, your sales background, how many years you've been in the business. Like, when you're going through a buyer lead sheet, everything is about the buyer and where they want to go, what their goals are, where they see themselves in 5 years, who's moving into the home. And so these questions are all about them. So first one, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Like, do you like to be communicated through WhatsApp, email, text? And what are the best times to get a hold of you? Okay. This is when it comes in handy to have like a full-time agent, because we'll be on our phone, and all of a sudden at 8 p.m. we'll get like a list of 16 V numbers. V numbers being like MLS numbers. I guess there are numbers now. Our numbers sent to us, and then they'll expect us to make a tour right away. So this is a good time to set expectations too. Just say, like, we're busy realtors. If you send us a listing to look at tomorrow morning, it might not happen. Try to get, if you want to view houses on the weekend, try to send us the listings on Tuesday or Wednesday. That really helps with timing the tour. Question number 1, has a sales representative taken you out and shown you properties? Has another realtor taken you out? Yes or no? How's that going? You don't want to like cut it and just be like, oh, I'm better. Go fire them. I'm better. Just ask them how it's going, and they'll tell you whether it's going well, or, there's always a reason why they're sitting down with you instead of them. Is anyone else buying the home with you? So I got this story when I started helping out one of my first clients buy a property. His price range was, I think, $350,000 in downtown Vancouver, which at the time it was possible because it was 12 years ago. Now can't find anything under $3 million or whatever. So so I was super excited. a buddy of mine, he's like, yeah, I'm looking to buy a property. It's like under 350. I show him maybe 15 properties to a point where like at one point he's like, oh, I feel so bad. I promise I'm gonna buy a property with you. You've worked so hard. You've taken the time to show these properties, but when I find something, I'll buy. So I just kept going with it. He went back to a property that he really liked. And then he's like, all right, Hiroshi, I think I want to put an offer on here. But my parents are helping me out with the down payment. So I want to bring them in. And that was like, the first time he mentioned anything about his parents. It was, they're really nice people and everything. We go see the property again for the third time. They go in and, we have a chat outside. And the showing went really well. It was nice. We go outside and the mom says, you know what? I think you should really go and look at more properties before you make a decision, because she had no idea that we've looked at over a dozen properties by then. And so me and my friend were kind of looking at each other like, well, we kind of did look at a ton of properties and everything out there. Like we know the market. This is a good deal, but with the parents fronting the money, it was mainly their call, and they kiboshed the offer, and we had to look at more properties. This time, we brought their parents every time, so then we looked at another half dozen properties with the parents, and eventually they bought. But it was, now I'm showing 20 to 25 properties to a buyer that could have bought in 12 to 15. So this question is very important. Is there anyone else buying the home with you? This could be a spouse, it could be a sibling, it could be, are there any other decision makers here? We need to know. Don't make the same mistakes I did, please. Because
Hey, Hiroshi. Sorry, Allison has a question here.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I was just wondering, in the situation you just mentioned, when would you dort the parents? Because I've had that situation before where I met the first person and I had no idea other people were going to be untitled, and then I don't want to get in trouble with conveyancing. How does dorting them? When do you do that?
So you would, yes. So DORT, the disclosure of representation and services, or representation and trading services. The form that you have to have signed, whether they're a customer or a client, in your first meeting, like I would bring it with me to this buyer consultation, and then if the parents say they're coming along, the first time I meet them, I'm not gonna throw the like the paper in their face right as I shake their hands and say sign this. But what I do is like, I'll meet them and just go over the form with them during the showing and just say, hey, by the way, I have to get the sign from you. It's from our board. It says that you're aware that I'm working on your behalf and we're building a client relationship at this point. It's not a contract. It's more of an acknowledgement that I've gone over this form with you. And so it's quite easy. When I first meet them.
Can they go on? Can you add them to the original form that you had your original guy sign, or would you give them a new form?
I would, not because I have to, but because I hate trees. No, I would use a different form just because like habitually I scan things and I just throw it away.
But you can have more than one person on a DORT.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you start a file with them, or you can get them to DocuSign it. I think more people, like, I'm kind of old school in that way that I don't DocuSign a lot of the forms when I meet someone. I want their like actual signature. Maybe I'm weird that way, but you could just say, hey, I have this form that I have to get signed by the board. I'll send it to you tonight. What's your email address? So that's totally fine too. I think more agents are doing that. Yeah. Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you.
How long have you been looking for a home? most buyers, they've been looking for 6 months without us knowing. I always say, like, like our job as a realtor will always be safe. Buyers and sellers will always need a specialist who's done this, gone through the process dozens of times, because, as a football analogy, a buyer can always move the ball for the first 50 yards by going online, by looking at the process, getting pre-qualified as from a mortgage broker or bank. They can look at all the houses. They can go to open houses by themselves. But then when it comes to the last 50 yards of writing an offer, negotiating the deal, making sure everything's normal, and that the sellers aren't asking for too much, getting the inspection done, good timing, getting the appraiser in. The last 50 yards of buying, people are always going to want a realtor just to make sure everything's normal, because the amount of down payment that they're putting their life savings into this home. So yeah. How long you been looking for a home? And have you seen anything out there that you like? Add that in there. Ultimately, if you do this buyer consultation correctly, you should have a picture of exactly what they're looking for. So you're not going to show them anything that they don't want. So instead of showing 20 properties, you're going to count them out, because you're going to say, okay, property A doesn't have a yard. They don't want that, as well as B. Property C has a carport, not a garage. They don't want that. So essentially, you're going to save your buyer and yourself a lot of time if you do this consultation correctly. I'm curious, why are you moving? Like, that's a great question too. You're going to get the buyer's needs out of that question, not their wants, but their needs. Why are you moving? Oh, we're growing. We need another bedroom. We don't want to be in a high rise with elevators or whatever. We're bringing in our parent folks to live with us. Do you currently rent or own? And this is important, because if they're in a rental, a lot of people might not know when their lease is up, or if they're in a lease. Renters cannot break a lease, as well as landlords. So if they're in a lease for another 2 years, like, unless they're renting that out, it doesn't really make sense to pay for a mortgage and a rental. Do you need to sell your current home before you buy your next home? Yes or no? And depending on the market, there's different strategies and order for it, whether you sell first, sell later. The worst case scenario is you don't want your client to go homeless. And at the same time, you don't want no one can afford 2 homes at the same time. So if you buy first, you're not going to get qualified unless you sell. And so there's different ways and strategies around that. And if yes, if no. Question 7, are you going to pay cash, or will you be getting a mortgage for your purchase of your home? And if you're getting a mortgage, have you already been pre-approved by a lender? Yes or no? I do like, there's lenders are the same as realtors. They get paid full in commission when they do their job, when they get a closing. There's good lenders and bad lenders. There's good mortgage brokers and bad ones. And so I've aligned myself with a couple mortgage brokers in particular who are they're really good at their job. They always follow up, and I get good feedback from my clients. Like, that's really important. As a new agent, don't align yourself with a brand new mortgage broker. That's like one of the worst things you could do. So, like, even if you're good buddies with someone and you're like, oh, I'm in my first year, you're in your first year, let's like align ourselves and conquer the world. It's there's a lot of unforeseen problems that might come up that neither of you looked after. So go with a mortgage broker who's done hundreds of deals, and they'll be able to lead you into some places too. There's 3 mortgage brokers that are really good who sponsor our office. Ali Kazam with TD, Kyle Green, and Craig Woodward with Dominion Lending. Like those are, if you don't have a mortgage broker, then they're really good to get information from and to help your buyers with. What price range are you comfortable with? Usually, like if I say what price range are you comfortable with, and they say $1 million, my follow-up questions would be up to. Like I'll see what they're really going up to. Like, well, yeah, if the perfect house comes up, we're willing to go to 1.1. Like we can afford it, but house rich, cash poor, it would have to be absolutely perfect. And so I would actually send them up to 1.1 because there might be room to negotiate, and you never know if that perfect house is there and they didn't see it. Like I'd rather send my clients more properties than less. Hang on, I gotta get a glass of water. 30 seconds. Amin, you want to keep going with this?
Hey guys, sorry, I was just on another call. So where were we at?
We are going through the buyer leads sheet, and then we are on number 8, question number 8. What price range are you comfortable with?
Okay.
I got it.
Oh, okay.
Got my vodka here.
Perfect. Good start. Happy Monday.
Good start to the day, yeah. Is there anyone else involved with your home buying decision? Why is that in there twice? I don't know. Oh, I think the first question was, is there anybody else buying your home with you? And then there's this one, is there anyone else involved in your home buying decision? So yeah, you might be buying the house with your spouse, but the in-laws are moving in, so they're actually involved in the home buying decision. They don't want to be in a bunker basement. Really, like we call this peeling the onion. We're really trying to get to the core, and every question you're just peeling another layer of the onion until you get to their big why, their motivation, if they're actually going to buy, and we want to spend our time with the most motivated people, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, meaning you must buy a home as quickly as possible, and 1 meaning you're not sure you'll really buy anything, how would you rate yourself? When do you need to be in your new home? Like that's a really good question too. If they're renting, their first-time buyers, they might say, I don't really need to be in the home. I just like to move and have more space or own my own home before the market gets pulled out under my feet again. I'd love to help you buy a home. In order to help you find a perfect home, all we need to do is set an appointment. What's a better time to meet? I think this is like a phone question. I always say, like with buyers, every appointment, don't leave the appointment until you set your next appointment. So your objective of this buyer meeting is to set the next meeting, which is usually house hunting. You'll meet at the first house. So yeah, before you leave the current appointment, always set the next appointment and give them like a next steps. Just say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a number of properties when I get into the office. So you might get 10 to 20 properties. Pick the ones that you want to see most and email them back to me with a date and time that you can view the properties. We can usually see around 5 properties in an hour or 2, depending on how much you have to drive in between. But because we've done this properly and now I know exactly what you want, all the properties will be within your home search criteria. And then so areas you love, you dislike, etc. These meetings just take an hour, exactly an hour every time. And so that's the buyer lead sheet. So that's on our wiki site. Like once you have access, you just go into helpful forms here, and then it has buyer lead sheet here. Any questions on that? Nice. Usually, yeah, for me, like I'm comfortable at a cafe. You know, there's a lot of conversations going around. It's a fun place to be. Chris Ackerman says, you know, he likes the home court advantage, so to speak. So he likes to bring them to the office. That way he's you know, he's in work mode. Like people are going there to see him, so they have purpose and intention already. And so he's a fan of meeting at the office. But it's really up to you. Or you could do it on Zoom as well. Alrighty, so the other thing that you're going to bring to an appointment with a buyer is your buyer presentation. And in the beginning, you're going to want to go over this with the buyer because it goes over the process and you're not going to miss anything. There's a buyer consult presentation here as a sample. When you open this, please download it and then edit it, like open with Google Slides and then edit it yourself. Because otherwise you're going to have your own information on here because you're going to be editing the master copy. But yeah, this is a good example of a home buying guide. It's very wordy. It's not as pretty as a listing presentation, but it should have all the FAQs, everything you need to know, important dates, everything someone buying a home as their first would need to know, like a first-time home buyer who knows nothing about the process would need to know is in here. Agency relationship. Yeah, take a look at that. Mine looks like this. Again, it's nothing amazing. It's very wordy. But here's a cool page where it says the home buying process. Number 1, select a real estate agent. Number 2, obtain financial pre-approval. So a lot of times when I'm leaving the appointment, I'll tell them, like I'll have Craig Woodward call you. He's a mortgage broker. He'll ask for some forms, but he'll have you completely pre-approved prior to going house hunting. And to that, the buyer will say, oh, do we need to be pre-approved? Like we know what we're approved for with our bank. Why do we need to be pre-approved from a mortgage broker? Does anyone know the answer to that?
It can be house dependent too, depending on the property.
Yeah.
But because one's a pre-approval and one's a speculation of what they can be approved for, and the other one is a proper approval.
Exactly. Yeah. It puts your buyer in a stronger position. So let's say you're the seller, okay? And you need to move, you need to downsize. And so you're a motivated seller and you put your price, you price the home competitively. And so you get 2 offers. One is pending financing and everything. They don't, they think they can get it. The other one is completely pre-approved. Essentially, that's almost as good as a cash offer because the purchasers know that they can afford it. And so if they say, okay, subject removal is in 5 days, we have financing conditions already met, even though it's subject to financing, because the buyers are pre-approved, now they just need to approve the home. The seller's more likely, even though it could be $5,000 or $10,000 less, the seller's more likely to go with a more stable offer, a guaranteed offer. Okay, analyze your needs. So that's the consultation that we're talking about. View properties, write an offer, negotiate terms, and accepted offer, and then it goes into removing subjects. So, like a buyer's consultation, I'm always asking questions and having that conversation. This presentation I print out and I just leave it for them to read over. I just say, if you're ever having troubles falling asleep, this will be helpful. There's a lot of information in there, but if you have any questions, you can always call me too. If you guys are on Canva, I found a couple on here as well. I just put in buyer presentation, and there are a couple like pretty nice looking buyer presentations that, these are in that 14:9 resolution, or that 14:9. So, about the realtor, career timeline. I don't think you really need career timeline. You can delete that. Client testimonials. Personally, I would put about the realtor at the very end, because like I said, unfortunately, clients don't care a lot about us. But if they want to read about what we did, what we've done, then, it's at the back of the book. Yeah, these are nice looking. And I saw this one, 7 key steps to buying a home. You can create this as like a free offering on Instagram. I know David Sella in our office does that. He says, download your free PDF of 7 key steps to buying a home. And then those would be his sphere of influence leads. And really it's just a PDF like this that he emails out. So I thought those are pretty good too. You're always going to be working on this. Don't spend a ton of time on creating this content. At the end of the day, you have all the tools here with the buyer's consultation, the lead sheet. Yeah.
So Hiroshi, Maz here. Quick question. So first, you're going to go through basically the buyer lead sheet in order to get all the information, and basically, to me, looks like a buyer qualification.
Yeah.
We would need to basically qualify the buyer. They are not just they don't want us to take a tour and then take them around, the houses, and because I had buyers like that just share with others. Nobody, I mean, some people, they love going around over the weekend and spend few hours and a free drive and sometimes free drinks and lunch. Some people would love to do that, and we don't want to do that. Of course, we want to accommodate, but not to the certain level. And then after that, you go through the buyer presentation, or first buyer presentation, or maybe buyer lead sheet over the phone, and then ask for another meeting for buyer presentation. What would you do? What would be the sequence of approaching?
Yeah. So if a lead comes in, they say, "Hey, Hiroshi, I want to look at this property." Right. That's usually how it comes in. Or if Harsh, I think you're getting online leads. You mentioned. So it's attached to a property that they're looking for. The lead is attached to a property that they're looking for. And so first point of contact, I would look at that property. I would get more information on it, whether it's available or not. And then I would find different properties that are just like it. Okay, that they might have skipped and they might not have seen, because you have to, in order for someone to say, you know, this coffee is going to be worth it, you have to bring some sort of value to them. Otherwise, nobody's going to sit down with a stranger, because there's 14,000 realtors, if you have nothing to offer them. And so I would look at that property, and then I would look for 3 to 5 properties just like it or better. I would call that lead and introduce myself, get into some sort of conversation and say, hey, you know what? The one that you sent me, unfortunately, has an accepted offer on it. They did all their offers 2 weeks ago. It looks like it's going to sell. However, there are a couple other ones that came up this week. I'm not sure if they're public or not, but I have this one on 123 Main Street. I can email them to you. And just out of curiosity, like, I don't want to step on anyone's foot. Are you working with another realtor?
And if they say yes,
actually, what I do say is, I'm assuming you're not working with another realtor.
but if they work and then they say, yeah, you could also send me a couple of listings and let's see how it goes. It would be kind of, I don't know.
Then I would try to close them for a sit down meeting and endorse them and have a buyer's contract. If they sound like they're slippery and they're just going with whatever realtor, like, I don't want to spend a lot of time with someone who's gonna use another realtor.
Yeah, that is true. And honestly, at the end of the day, because I had recently, that was the first one, but it was a really bad experience, but it was a really good experience. And this is what we may came across sooner or later. So I came across, I had a buyer, and then he came, actually, I had a listing, and then he approached me, and then they didn't get that listing. And I didn't like the approach of the realtor that he was using. And then later on, he called me and asked me, why didn't we get your listing and what happened and so on. He called me directly, the customer.
The buyer?
Yes, the buyer. Then I explained him everything. Then he said, oh, okay, I appreciate that. And I told him, okay, in future, if you need any help, I'm available and I like you. And if you need any assistance, give me a call. Because I knew that he's involved with that group. He's running a group, in Coquitlam. And then later on, he called me. But then after a while, I noticed that he has very high temper. And I'm really, really patient. And, I try my best to be very, very respectful and ethical. Then it reached to the point that one day, out of nowhere, then I was just talking to him, said, okay, what if we don't approach this one, then it may get sold, and again we regret, and again we go to this cycle. Now it is 4 months you have been looking for a home, and you know that the price is not going to drop. The price now is a kind of a stable, and I told you how much is, and every time he just sent me the listing the listing ID, and then asked me how much is worth. Can we get it? Can we not get it? I mean, waste of a lot of time. And one,
I get that a lot too.
Yeah.
Send me the fee number, the R number, the MLS number, and say, how much is this? Is this overpriced? Why is it such a big deal? What's going on? And
yes,
we really don't know until we see the property.
And that the lesson learned for me, I mean, it's absolutely fine. But the next time, I don't know, I would definitely ask why you were not able. What was the reason that you didn't work with the first realtor? Mm-hmm. Because maybe that guy is a problem. The realtor is not a problem.
The first realtor decided not to work with them.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, when you're in your first couple of years of business, you just want to take any kind of client as possible. There's going to be a point where you're going to fire your worst client.
I
And
wish I get to
what
that
an
point.
amazing feeling that is. Like, you know, we're just dealing with people. So there's going to be clashes and people that you don't want to work with and whatever. So, you know, there was a time where I got like so sick of one client. They're so high maintenance and it didn't seem like they're going to buy. And so at one point I just say, you know what, this isn't going to work. Unfortunately, we're going to have to find, you're going to have to find a different realtor. And he said, okay, I understand. Click. And I was like, oh,
Thanks God.
it was a lot of weight off my back,
Yeah.
off my shoulder.
Yeah, unfortunately, with that guy, I was so mad, so angry. I never thought he would react like this. I mean, just a normal conversation. I think he didn't have a morning coffee, or he had a bad day, or whatever. Then I don't know, text me something. Then I told him, you know what? I have no, what did I say? Because sometimes even some clients are really crazy, right? They can take a copy, a snapshot of your text message and post it in the social media and say like, oh, yeah, you see this realtor how responded to me, and people, they don't know what he told me. Then I text him back, and he has a proof of text, but I don't. That's a verbal conversation. Then I told him, okay, I don't, I'm not insisting to work with you. I wish you all the best and good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really hard actually. It's sometimes.
Yeah. Sean Kokoska, he used to be one of the, I want to say like one of the maps coach of Keller Williams and everything. When he started his career, he was on a team on Diana Kokoska's team, and he closed 200 buyer ends. Like, buyers do take a lot more face time than sellers do, like 4 times more, but he still did his buyer's consult so well that he was able to close 200 ends in a year. He has a story that, you know, during the summer, he took his family and his kids out boating, and he gets a call, and the buyer's like, "Oh, we we saw your name on the billboard. We want to see if this house is available to view." And he's like, today's a day off for me, yada yada yada. And the buyer says, "Well, we're pre-approved. We really have to move in. We really want to see the home. I think there's a good, we drove by it. There's a good chance that we'll write an offer." And he's thinking, yeah, you know what? It's family time, but you know what? If they're that close to buying, I could probably show the home. And he makes the appointment. He boats into the shore, into the dock. His kids and his wife goes to have lunch. He suits up, goes to suit and show the property. The buyers love it. They're ecstatic. They're like, this is the perfect property for us. We're going to call a realtor to write an offer. That happens. A lot of people, like, they might not respect our time as much as we do. And so, how could he have protected his time? How could he have done it differently?
Would you basically recommend signing a buyer contract, exclusive buyer contract with the buyers, or because most of the people, even they are not patient. If I ask 2, 3, 4 question, they want to give up. But it seems we have to explain to them why we are asking this buyer lead, sheet.
Yeah.
And
I've made the mistake of forcing like one of my best friends to a buyer contract really early in my career, and it just got really awkward. I'm like 70-30. 70% of the people I work with, they're past clients. They're referred to me. They're people I know already, so they're not going anywhere. So I usually don't have a buyer's contract. I don't think this is what the office wants me to say to you guys, but it's just the way I handle my business. If there are like sign call leads and it kind of sounds like they're wishy-washy, then I definitely get them to sign a contract prior to taking them out. Yeah. And like they'll take their time. Like some of them will end up signing it, but they'll send me a lot of MLS numbers and say, let's go see this, let's go see this. And I'll say, did you get a chance to read the contract, and send it back to me? And then they'll act like they didn't see that email. Yeah. But it makes sense. Like, again, the reason why they're hesitant is that you haven't brought enough value to them yet. Anytime, like, if they're asking for a drop in commission, they're giving you objections, it's usually that you haven't shown them enough value or answered all their questions. Yeah. Any other questions regarding buyers? So I'll go back to the presentation here. So yeah, buyer appointment do's and don'ts. Like, of course, bring a lead sheet, bring your mortgage broker's information, Ford and Frog when things get awkward. Ford stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? How many people in the family? What do you do for work? What do you like to do on your free time? Always take notes. Take notes of their kids' names, pets' names. You'll have that on your lead sheet, but keep reminding yourself to take notes. And buyers usually like seeing that. Like, they like to be heard. They don't like to repeat themselves. They really don't like seeing, if a buyer says, "Oh, this area is not very good for us," like, don't show them that another house in that area, even if it's a good deal. Like, really listen to them. It's a quick way to get fired if you start showing them houses in that area again. Don't give advice on mortgage and rates. This is like, you're a realtor. Your specialty is contracts, finding homes, closing deals, negotiating. Stay in your lane. If someone says how much are mortgage rates, like, honestly, like, this is all I do. Like, I live and breathe real estate, and I don't even know what the interest rates are right now for mortgages. Like, I guess maybe they're 1.6 or so for variable and 1.8. I don't know, but I don't want to get into it. Anytime there's like conversations about salary and mortgages, I just say, no, just ask your mortgage broker. I don't need to know that. What I do need to know is what you're comfortable spending, and we can find a house within your budget, within your means. Don't be late. Like, yeah, I don't have no patience for tardiness. And a lot of people are like that too, especially if they're early. I show up 15 minutes early to coffee meetings, get myself a coffee, and then I'll meet them and I'll ask them what they want. Or if you know them, if it's like a past client, I'll get there 15 minutes early, and then I'll message them if they what kind of coffee they want. I guess another do is do buy their coffee. It's polite. Don't answer calls either. A lot of don'ts are attached to ego, and ego is the killer of realtors. Nothing's bankrupted more realtors and lost them business than their ego. Don't be texting. You can turn your phone off, turn it upside down. Don't answer your calls. Like, even if this buyer's buying a manufactured home that's like $150,000, like, that's just pay attention to them. And then again, don't leave your booking. Don't leave without booking your next appointment. So this appointment is for setting your next appointment. and your 6 steps to buying. So interview agent, get pre-approved, go see homes, write an offer, remove subjects, and move in. As a timeline from steps A to Z, we're looking at about 2 to 6 months. 2 months is really short, but it's been done before. But we always say when you get into this business, you're about 6 months away from your first paycheck. And that's because we have to generate the lead right now, work with the follow up, then get in the process of interviewing the agent, seeing homes, finding the home, and then writing an offer. And then the closing time is between 1.5 to 3 months, depending on what the seller needs to do, usually. And then your paycheck comes on moving day. You don't get paid until closing, completion date. However, a lot of realtors will spend their commission 3 times. Just the nature of the business, I suppose. They'll write an offer, get it accepted, and just say, yes, I got an accepted offer. I'm going to go shopping, buy clothes, buy a TV. Subjects removed. That means I'm guaranteed a paycheck. Yes. I can pay all the bills, go to the liquor store, buy what I want, and then you'll actually get the paycheck on moving day, which really is cut in half after the 70-30, the income tax, your expenses, and everything. And then, yeah, you'll spend money there. Try not to get into that habit. You know, I always encourage agents to run a lean business, live within your means. You know, don't live a life of showing off and whatnot. Like, I'm reading a good book on it right now. It's called The Psychology of Money. It's a fun read. It sounds boring, but you know, it talks about how there's some people who will have enough and there's some people who will never have enough, and we've all seen that. You know, people who make this industry is chock full of people who make millions of dollars in commission, and they don't like have any investments, they don't have any savings, they just spend everything they make. But if you do it well, you can buy investment properties, you can get into building, you can get into land assembly on your own. There's a ton of opportunities and upsides if you learn to run a low expense business, save, invest, even go into early retirement. So again, this is Sean Kokoska, the boat guy that I was telling you about. He does have a really good video on buyer consultation. It's in our wiki site under what would it be under? Easy to explain. Videos. I think it's here. No, it's under videos. Here. Sean Kokoska's buyer consultation. You can see Chris's buyer's consultation here. You can see Sean's here. You just click it. It's a link. We're not going to go through this now, but once you have access to the wiki site, I think it's a 20-minute video, and you'll see how sharp he is. Like, not only is he a pretty handsome man and well dressed, you'll see how smooth he is on speaking because he's practiced this so many times. Again, he closed 200 buyer ends doing this exact same thing over and over again, which may sound boring, but then, you know, we think about some of the highest paid people, and a lot of them like are reading scripts over and over again, or you know, they're a band or musician doing the same concert 200 times a year. Athletes are doing the same thing, like Olympic divers are doing the same program over and over again. We can get paid a lot of money for practicing our scripts and presenting it well. And so this is a very high level buyer presentation that he does. He goes through every step that he doesn't miss, and by the end he knows exactly what the buyer wants and needs, and it's an education session. So he's educating the buyer. And so, yeah, please watch that video as well. There's a lot to go through. I know, like, being a new agent, there's so much. Like, tomorrow there's Carol's class with contracts. You're getting a ton of information on buyers. We haven't even gone into listings. There's a flip side on listings that, you know, takes weeks to get all the information. You know, this is your chance to work a lot, and the more you work now, your work is going to compound into getting your business off the ground quicker. You know, go back to if you ever wonder if you're doing the right thing or not, just go back to the 5 things that I said in the beginning. These 5: scripting and role playing, lead generating, lead follow up, going on appointments, writing contracts, negotiating deals. So, you know, once you're comfortable with buyer consultation, listing presentation, if you're not, you can ask one of the coaches to, if you're like really not comfortable, like, we're okay to split a lead as well, and co-list and things like that. But if you practice all your lead gen, your appointments and everything, you can always go back to these 5 things, and that'll help you grow your business. That'll help you get more closings. Any questions?
And the question from my side, you mentioned that you leave a buyer presentation with them. So how would you go for a very fancy ones as a kind of, I mean, printing, or just printing and then put it in the typical or normal binding and leave it to them, or how would you?
Yeah, I had just put it in a duotang with a clear cover. Yeah, I printed out. It's up to you. Like, you can get a print shop to do them all for you on like nice paper.
But then you wouldn't personalize it in the name of a customer, or you just print it off as a general guide for a buyer consultation. That would be easier. Otherwise, you have to put the name and then again print it. It's gonna cost a lot.
Exactly. Like, you know, like, that extra time isn't gonna feed into more business because it's personalized and things like that.
All right. And another question I had, Hiroshi, is, let's say you get the search criteria. So what would you typically, you just go to the Paragon and then set up an email notification, or you do collab center, or you do market nurturing? What is that? Neighborhood snapshot or something from the KW command?
Collab center.
Yeah. Okay. Collab center.
That's in your intro to Paragon class that everyone has to take, like how to set up the collab center and Paragon and everything. But once like, let's say
collab center is better than email, I suppose. Is better than email notification with the link. Which one would you suggest?
I try to get everyone on collab center because then I could see them looking at properties. They'll favorite properties and whatnot. So I do prefer that. I notice, like, for more senior clients, I just do an email because the collab centers, there's more moving parts to it. An email you just get, and which is good. But a collab center, it's like favorite, unfavorite. There's different maps and things like that. So if I sense that they're not really up to technology, then I just email it to them.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Any questions so far regarding buyers consultation? Has anyone gone on a buyer consultation so far? I know, Allison, you have a few times. Maz. No. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. I don't know. In the beginning, when I started, like, there's so many times, like, I didn't get the formal education that KW offers. I was with a different brokerage and I had a mentor, but only when I had a deal going. So, like, I had some really awkward conversations. I didn't know Ford. I didn't know Frog. I didn't have a lead sheet. People knew I was new, like, right away. Well, you know, looking like a teenager probably tipped them off too. But on top of that, it's like, I don't really know what I'm talking about, or I'm not really controlling the conversation, and which is what the lead sheet really helps to do. Yeah. Do you have anything to add? Like, I'm pretty much finished. Oh, actually, no, there's one more slide that I can go through before we finish, and then we'll probably be done 10 minutes early. Has everyone heard of the DISC assessment? Yeah, Asana, Maz, you have, yeah.
I heard, but I didn't have. Sorry, I
Yeah.
have to do. That's in my to-do list.
The DISC assessment is like it's a personality assessment. Like, what kind of person are you? What makes you tick? What makes you comfortable? How do you like to be spoken to? And so there's a company called Abelman, ABELMEN, who does the assessment. Also, Tony Robbins is big on it. So if you go to the Tony Robbins website, you can find out what your personality is. And I'll show you kind of the intro to this whole thing. And again, like, the reason why we're going over this today is because it's so important to talk to people how they like to be spoken to, right? Like, there's people oriented people and there's task oriented people. And if they're really task oriented and they just want the bottom line, and you're dabbling all over the place, you're trying to get to know them and build rapport, they're not going to like you because they just want the bottom line. And vice versa. If someone's really warm and fuzzy and they love hugs and they like, they're very steady, don't rock the boat, you can't just go up to them with a bunch of data and graphs and expect that and think that you're giving them value, right? Because you're not speaking to them how they like to be spoken to. And so the DISC assessment, DISC stands for DISC.
Just a quick note on that. Keller Williams, we have our own one. It's called the KPA. So once you join coaching, we'll actually get that done for you through our office. Yeah, the one through Keller Williams is more real estate focused, whereas the DISC is sort of a general sort of business tool.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And so the quadrants are split like this: DISC. On the left side, DC, these are task-oriented people. IS, these are people-oriented people, or sorry, people-oriented. And so D stands for direct. So direct people, they don't like to waste time. Okay, give me the information. If you go on a listing presentation with someone who's direct, they just want what your opinion is of the list price. They don't want any of the data. They don't want you to be warm and fuzzy. They want the bottom line, sign the contract, and then get out of their house because they're moving on to something else. Those people are strong-willed. They're firm. Okay, what they say go. They care about results, nothing else. And so, a listing presentation with a D-type personality is half an hour. I stands for influential. And so influential people are the life of the party. They love people and they like talking to people. They have a huge network. If you're at a buyer tour with a buyer, it's all about who lives in the area, right? Oh, you got a firefighter over here. They can save your life. You got a dentist over here. You got this. You got a golf course up there. Um, they want a big yard. They want open space. They love to host parties. That's an I, influential. A meeting with them is going to be much longer because they're going to ask questions about who you are, who your family is. They're very enthusiastic, outgoing, lively, lots of high energy. If you've ever met Leo Bruno from Remax, he's the biggest I ever know. I've ever known. He's yelling at you when he's talking to you from like 2 feet away because he's just such a fun loving, energetic guy. Chris Ackerman falls in this DI. So he's, what you'll notice is a lot of people are a mix of two of these traits. And so Ackerman is quite firm and results oriented, but at the same time, he likes to know who you are. He likes to get to know people. You can't get him away from a conversation because that's his eye coming out. Now, this side's people oriented. And so S people are steady. They don't rock the boat with the S people. They're very comfortable in their ways. They're accommodating. They're very patient. They're very humble. When you're dealing with S people, let's say you go to their home and they offer you tea and cookies, you have to eat their cookie because they want to feel like they're accommodating you, like you feel like home, right? Don't go to S's with big problems because that's what really stresses them. If you know Naomi in the office, she's a big S. Like if you go up to Naomi with a problem, the first thing she does is she'll like mess up her hair because your problem is now a big problem of hers. S people will also protect your feelings. And so if you go to an appointment and they'll say they love you, you remind them of their grandchildren, they're definitely going to use you, hire you, and then you leave and you find out on MLS that they listed as someone else because they don't want to hurt someone's feeling. And then there's the last even tempered. There's a C people. These people are compliant. If you tell a C personality to sign their name within a box, nothing will go outside the box. Everything will be inside. C people are very analytical. They're private. They're systematic. These are the data people. They're precise. They take a long time to make a decision, but they have to make the right decision. And if they make a decision, that goes. Nothing else matters because they put all the data together. They've looked at all the charts. They have all the knowledge. So, the C people don't. It's the smallest fraction of people that are in C's. There's only 8% of them that exist that are high C's. However, those are the people making a lot of money. They're engineers, they're architects, they're accountants, they're CEOs, those are the drivers of the economy. And so if you're patient and you give them all the data, they might ask for your opinion too. And so if you can present the data in the way that they like it, eventually they will hire you and they'll be buying big houses What we say for any kind of presentation, whether it's a buyer presentation or a listing presentation, prepare for a C, bring data, and hope for a D. Hope that, it's just the bottom line. You're the professional. Get it signed, get out. But have everything ready for a C. Have your listing presentations, your CMA ready for someone who's compliant. And then, however, you'll notice that a lot of people are a mix of these. And you can find out what yours is on Tony Robbins' website. And so, like, I heard of another analogy where they use animals on these. Direct, the D personality would be a lion. They control the kingdom. They eat when they're hungry. The I influentials are parrots. They love talking. S steady is the puppy dog. And the compliant people are owls. They're the wise owls. And so, like I said, don't rush an S. If it's an I, talk to them. There's going to be 15 minutes of personal chat before any kind of business. If they're compliant, give them the data and shut up. If they're D's, they're going to ask you the open-ended questions and you just fire them off. And so, part of preparing for a C is that you do have to present them with some data. And so before we go, I'll show you probably the best place to get data for both listings and buyers. So everyone can see this, right? On my Paragon? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So go down this middle part, stats reports by area. I clicked on it. You can look up any city in the lower mainland here. Let's say Poco, 2001 for this month. And it comes out, in the first week of the month for last month. And you can see, like, I print these out for a lot of clients. For detached properties, you can see the number of sales this year and last year in July. The average days on market, 32 days, and the average benchmark price. So we're up 26% from last July, and we thought it was a seller's market then. Same with June, and they split these up between condos, detached, and townhouses, and you can really see the difference between cities. Delta is going to have a very different number from Port Coquitlam. Even when you're looking at condos compared to detached, like detached has gone up 26%, condos only 14.5%.
Can you do like sub areas? Like with my Chilliwack conundrum, could I do Ryder Lake?
You can. The danger is that once you go into sub areas, you might not have a large enough sample size. So within this presentation, let me zoom in here so you can see it. Oops, that's too much. All right, we're back to this. I don't know if you could see this. It says Port Coquitlam detached. This is within the same printout. It says Citadel Port Coquitlam. So this is the number of sales and active listings in the sub area for July 2021. However, now we're only reporting 6 sales and 7 active listings. But to me, like, that's not a large enough sample size to see a trend in real estate. Port Coquitlam like you guys all know Poco, all the condos are in central Port Coquitlam. So when you pull up the condo report and it says Port Coquitlam, now you can see that there's 25 sales and 49 active listings. So half of the inventory is sold. Like that's a decent sample size. Same with Glenwood. Yeah. In the Valley, they don't have this. They just have those really information heavy charts that they have every month. You can get to the same number and everything. It's just not laid out like this pretty. And these graphs are really nice. The HPI benchmark price. So if someone said, hey, I bought my condo last year, what's it worth today? I'm willing to bet that, you know, you could divide the current HPI benchmark price by last year's. It'll come out to 14%, and that's what they're that's the price that their condo's gone up by. And if they've done any renos, they can add that to their price as well. So this is good information. I just wanted to show you that. Again, so you go into your Paragon and go stats reports by area. The confusing thing is that there's two. There's Stat Center. Do not click on that. That's something completely different. Some people like it. You can play around with it, but this is the good stuff right here. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I got for buyers. Again, it takes practice. Go through the lead sheet a few times. Get familiar with your products on MLS, just so you're ready when you get that one, your first buyer. You're prepared to go through it. And again, like if you do a good job on the appointment, you'll save yourself a ton of time. You'll save your clients a ton of time too. Yeah. Good. Any questions? Anything you want to add? Anything you want to know about? Alrighty. Hopefully see you guys next week. Next week, I think we'll be doing listings, or are we doing buyers again, Aman?
I think we are doing listings next week.
Yeah, so we'll have a similar classes today, except we'll be doing listing presentations, which is good.
And just a reminder, so anyone that hasn't done like, you know, at least 2 or 3 deals, make sure you guys are in Carol's class tomorrow, right? So 10 o'clock. She'll kind of answer all your questions related to contracts and just all the paperwork related to doing a deal. So you guys got questions or anything?
Good. All right. Well, kill the week. Go door knocking. Go practice your scripts. Go talk. Just talk to people who want to buy and sell houses.
And one other thing. So when you guys do get the invites for today's session, Monday sessions and Tuesday sessions, just hit yes. So that way you can automatically go into the class. You don't need to wait for someone to let you in. So.
Cool.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Yoshi. Thanks, Aman.
Thank
Thanks, guys.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.